Now, what's interesting is, yes, she was removed from her position, but is she going to be arrested for this? Because this is straight pedophilia, straight up. We don't arrest pedophiles anymore. That's my whole thing. Like, where are the arrests? And maybe it's because the people that act like this behind closed doors, they're in charge. There's no other way. Either you're arresting people or you're a part of it, and that's it. There's no gray area ever. Now, this next one we're going to get into. This is Laura Logan, and she just broke down a pattern that hits different once you see it. You know, she says they keep creating problems that can never actually be solved. Racism that's unconscious, masculinity as inherently toxic, CO2 as the enemy, even though we breathe it out, and differences. And she'll get more into it in the video. But at the end of the day, and it's interesting that nobody's saying this is this cult behavior. If you are not doing what the cult wants you to do, they will shout you down. See, you know you are not a part of a cult if you can have a dissenting opinion and a discussion. That's it. Dissenting opinion and a discussion. Now, you can be a part of any type of cult. I was in a cult, and I was in a church, and it was a cult. Yeah. Because if you dissented, it was like, you can't dissent. Wait a minute, what? I can't have another opinion? You know, I've got to live my life the way you think I should be living my life. Now, yes, there are biblical guides, but when you start turning yourself into God and trying to lord things over people, you're doing exactly what the Bible says not to do. And that's what happened, right? In short, in my situation. But in my opinion, what she's talking about, it is a cult mindset. It really, really is. It's very sad.
So for these people, they cannot have you ask questions of substance because everything is built on a lie. Climate, all those climate programs, all built on lies. The whole race narrative, all built on lies. Does that mean there's no racism? Does that mean there's no difference? No. But what do? They want to take race, they want to take differences, and they want to create them, turn them into problems which can never, ever be solved. Okay. So the color of your skin, you can't change it. Therefore, you can never solve this problem. Yep. Unbiased racism, it's unconscious. If you're not conscious of it, you can't fix it. So, and if you look in all of these places, they create issues. Like as a man, you're going to have masculine instincts. They now teach you that masculine instinct is evil. It's a problem can never be solved. CO2. We create CO2 as we breathe out. It's critical for life on Earth. You will never, ever. They created a nonsense problem that can also never be solved, because to remove CO2 from the Earth is to kill all life on Earth. So once you start to recognize the tactics, it becomes very, very simple. It's easy. You don't have to be a genius to see the same tactics playing out over and over again. Transgenderism, it's the same thing. This is an attack on us as we were created, to break down communication, to isolate us so that we can be controlled. Why do they have to kill the food supply? Because they have to control what we eat. We have to control our movements.
Yeah. And that's a cult. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. This is an interesting breakdown. Now, this last one we're going to get into, and this is an update pretty much. So a federal judge has upheld the felony conviction against former Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan, who was found guilty of helping an illegal evade ICE agents at the courthouse. Dugan now faces up to 5 years in prison, disbarment, and steep fines. Yeah. So this is Judge Dugan. She was taking another judge along with her. And the interesting thing is, I think they're not supposed to wear their robes in certain areas. And she was literally guiding them out of the courthouse because the ICE agents were there to pick up those two gentlemen that were sitting there because they had deportation orders. So, Nobody's being disappeared. They had deportation orders, and she literally helped them evade ICE. So I'm glad, because now this does set a precedent. So hopefully other individuals will not do this. It is a crime. Okay. It is called Title 18, Section 111, when you purposely impede an investigation of a federal agent. Do not do that. And also a violation of Title 8, Section 1324, harboring illegal aliens. That could be considered harborment, because she removed them from one place to another, and she helped them, and, basically protected them. What are you doing? What is going on? Now let's get into a few of our headlines from all sides. Now, the first one, it talks about the geopolitical consequences of the Iran war. And we're going to see, especially now that they've gotten this written agreement, there's still going to be a lot of back and forth of what's happened. So stay tuned. MLB players issued warning over handwritten Bible verses on Pride Night caps. What? So it's okay for one religion, and it is a religion. It is a cult. I call it a cult because of the way they are trying to demand everybody else be a part of what they're doing, right? But if you dissent and say, hey, I want to write a Bible verse, what? You're going to be given a warning? We are in a country where it's freedom of religion. Whether you're in a cult or not, you can't tell people what they cannot do religiously, right? You just can't do things that are illegal within your said religion. And I've been calling it a religion for a long time. And it's a cult in the sense that if you don't agree with them, you're wrong. You have to agree. You have to. No, we don't. Nobody doesn't support anything you're doing. Now, I'll respect you as a human being, but I don't have to support what you're doing. You don't have to support what I'm doing. That's okay, right? Now, the next article, it says, Education Department offloads special ed civil rights responsibility to other agencies. I wanted to take a quick look at this because I hadn't seen it before. And I wanted to see what we're actually talking about. So the Education Secretary Linda McMahon announced that the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services in the Education Department would move its program to the Health and Human Services Department and reassign the Office for Civil Rights Responsibility to the Justice Department. Okay. Outlets on the left questioned how these changes could negatively impact students with disabilities, while right-leaning perspectives highlighted the progress towards President Trump's goal of dismantling the education department entirely. I see this as actually a win for special education, mainly because now with Health and Human Services, they'll actually be able to get more studies done, understanding what's happening in that space specifically with those individuals. And then for the Office for Civil Rights Responsibilities. See, people, and a lot of people, this is the first time they've heard of the Office of Civil Rights. Well, actually, it was put in place in 1965 after the Civil Rights Voting Act. And actually, it was a specific set aside for Black Americans that were affected and their civil rights affected, so that there would basically be a designated office if their civil rights were violated, they could go to, and somebody was there to fight on their behalf with resources. Well, it soon became people of color, then BIPOC, then, it's your gender and your race and this, and it's none of those things. None of those things. But it is funded annually, right? In the appropriations package. Every year, Congress passes so much money for the Office of Civil Rights. So the Office of Civil Rights is not going away, but the Special Education and Rehabilitative Services is being moved from there to the DOJ. So now families that have been wronged by maybe their state or, some local municipalities, they can actually go to the DOJ and make these reports, and the DOJ has to investigate it. And they do have the manpower and the resources to do that, which is where it should have been all along. Why are you in an office that you don't belong in? So I do appreciate what Linda McMahon did with this one, because again, this is another remove